I resisted getting a Cricut machine because I mainly do mixed media. So what do I need it for? Well, my friends, I was wrong. And now, after having it for a few weeks, I've actually used it in the past 4 videos to cut sentiments and focal points. But what I really wanted to do is to use it for monoprinting, but in a totally out-of-the-box way. The first step is to cut out some patterns, which I search in the Cricut design space. They have a huge variety of patterns, but I settle with 4 different ones and arrange them to fit perfectly on an old 12 by 12 orange cardstock paper. I stick the cardstock onto the Cricut mat and load it to my machine. Press cut and let the magic happen. You may ask at this point why I didn't cut the patterns out of stencil material, which could make them reusable. But I purposely cut them out of old cardstock, and I will show you why in a bit. But first, I remove them from the mat and cut some of the leftover zigzag borders from the cardstock as well. Now I'm ready to start, and I'm using acrylic paints on my gel plate. I pick blue as my first color and roll it onto my gel plate, but only in certain areas, as I want to make very specific distressed marks. Then I take my first pattern, which looks like a honeycomb, and rip it into uneven pieces, as I don't want the pattern to look symmetrical. I place them on the blue paint and brayer on top to make sure they stick. I place a white cardstock paper on top to soak up any excess paint and lift up the papers to reveal a distressed uneven pattern in the background. The next color I add is emerald green. I roll it unevenly on my background again and then add some ripped pieces from another pattern. This one looks like a beautiful lace. I continue to brayer colors on my gel plate in small patches and add ripped pieces of the patterns. This is the reason why I chose to cut the patterns out of paper, because I can rip them apart into uneven pieces. I would never be able to do this with my regular stencils, as I wouldn't be able to rip the plastic, and truthfully, I wouldn't want that. In this case, I can cut as many patterns as I want, as many times as I want with my Cricut machine, and once I'm done, I can either toss them, reuse them, or repurpose them as collage pieces on other projects. The key to this technique is to build layers of paint patterns that overlap each other in both color and design. The most important part of the process is to make sure the painted patterns dry on the gel plate. This technique yields amazing results, but there's always the possibility that the last step fails. However, the anticipation of not knowing the final results brings an exhilarating surprise, and it really tests my impatience in a good way. Once I'm satisfied with the final pattern, it's time to add the main background color. Usually I choose white, but this time I chose gold and rolled it across the whole plate, covering the entire design. Then it's time to place the paper. I usually use a full sheet of white cardstock paper, but this time I cut the sheet into the shape of a butterfly with my Cricut machine, and then place the silhouette on the gel plate, followed by the butterfly cutout. Then you do the most important thing. You wait. Don't touch it. Don't lift the corner. Don't peek. The paper has to be completely dry before you lift it. And trust me, this is the hardest part for me, as I'm so excited to see the outcome. I wait about 6 hours. Then I lift the paper, and I'm just in love with the result. Both the butterfly and the background are amazing, and I decide to use them to create 2 projects using both the positive and the negative parts of the image. To assemble the projects, I cut a few more butterfly designs. The first one I cut is another white butterfly, which I monoprint with magenta and gold acrylic paint, as I want to have some contrast with the original background. I tape the butterfly to the silhouette so when I monoprint, it acts as a full sheet of paper. The reason why I don't cut the butterfly after it's monoprinted is because I worry that the blade will get ruined when it's used to cut through acrylic paint. The second butterfly I cut is a design insert that comes as a layer in Cricut. I used the insert for one of the projects and even used the bits and pieces it leaves behind on the second project as part of the butterfly design. Then the 2 butterflies are assembled with the different images layered. It's incredible what backgrounds we can create with a few pieces of ripped pattern paper and a gel plate. I love experimenting with out-of-the-box ideas, like in this video right here, where I used acrylic paint markers along with some magazines on my gel plate to create one-of-a-kind projects that will literally blow your mind.